Camera HDMI check. LD dub D L U back. Blazing lasers on the TurboGrafx-16 Mini. This is actually a test of my generic HDMI USB video capture device. It's capturing at 60 frames a second, 720p. Again, this will just be a test. I did a quick test at 60 frames a second. I think the frame rate might be a little bit off. It might be skipping a few frames. I got to double check that, because that's going to be a problem if I do a traditional video. Again, I actually got an HDMI splitter. I got myself a generic Walmart HDMI splitter. Let me put that on the floor. There we go. I got generic Walmart ONN HDMI splitter. So I have my TurboGrafx-16 Mini plugged into the input. I have HDMI cable going out to my flat screen, my Samsung flat screen here, 720p. I have a second HDMI cable going out to my laptop, which is capturing this device. It's capturing, like I said, 720p, 60 frames a second. I will double check to see how I'm doing there. I have a smartphone, a $30 smartphone, a Blueview, I believe it's called, capturing all of this audio via my Turtle Beach headset. So again, we're going to be, this is not a streaming setup, actually. It's more of a, can I capture lag-free to my laptop while playing on a television? Because I can play this console on the laptop. I did a video where I played some Alien Crash, or was it Alien Crush? I forgot what game it was. That game was actually captured on the laptop with no TV play at all. I'm going to try doing a separate capture later on when I use Virtual Dub. I'll try capturing directly to Virtual Dub and see how the delay is on that. I was willing to play a pinball game with the input lag on this thing. This is a device that I believe was tested by the Stream Professor, Epos Vox, on YouTube. I think the input latency is pretty low. It's supposed to be less than 50 milliseconds. But this video will be mainly a test stream. I won't have time to explain the gameplay on Blazing Lasers. It's basically a top-down shooter. I believe it's from Compile, the guys who did Zanac and Gun-Nac and Space Megaforce and Aleste and all those games on the Genesis. We'll get to that later. So I'm going to focus more on me just trying to make sense of this capture setup. Then we'll explain the gameplay later in a completely separate video with a more reliable capture setup. So this is just a test, but if I can play a shooter on my TV while I capture on my laptop, more power to me. It's a $30 HDMI splitter. It'll do the job. A button, again, using NES controller nomenclature. The B button, or button 2, has automatic fire. You will not need turbo on this game. That is your fire button. You hold the button down for auto fire, no problem. Oh, I love this. Like I said, this is such a compile game, isn't it? This is such a compile weapon set. I don't think there's any alternate fire setup. The A button, or the button 1, or the A button, is the bomb drop. If you want to drop one of your screen clearing bombs, I have 7 of them in the bottom right hand corner of the screen there. 7 screen clearing bombs will help if I need them. And let's try a couple more things. The select button is used to adjust the speed. Check out the top left-hand corner of the screen. There are 2 triangles. You can increase the speed. This is speed number 2. That's the default speed. Press select to increase it to speed 3. I'll just swing left to right to see how fast I go. Press it one more time to go max speed. Careful. Then press it. This is your slowest possible speed for precision. Speed number 1. So I'm going to keep it at the default speed for now. It seemed to work pretty well the first time I played this game, when I was not recording commentary. Ah, lost my shield. Yeah, I got a fireball. Well, look at that. It's a loop. I think this is the first boss. Yeah, give me a second. I hit the screen clearing bomb. Gosh darn it. I beat that guy without dying the first time I played. Let's see where the waypoint is. I got 13 of these. I could probably abuse these screen-clearing bombs if I need to. But again, those are the basics. That's really all you need to know to play this game until you figure out what all the weapon power-ups are. Like, weapon 1 gives me my regular gun. Weapon 3, I guess, gives me this laser thing. The S icon I just picked up is the shield. The F button is the fireball, I guess. But it seems to have some kind of homing ability, which I appreciate. See how it does 90-degree angles like that? It seems to be some kind of homing ability. So that seems cool. Button 4 is for the loop, right? I can't tell what these buttons mean. I do like this gun right here. It's like Super Star Soldier. You hold left and the gun bends to the left. You hold right and the gun bends to the right. Handy. It's kind of hard to see what's going on. Yeah, as you can, so they got, again, this game was interlaced. This game was made on a console that interlaced the output. Because, you know, remember, this console came out in the late 80s, so everything was interlaced back then. So if I guess one of the ways that they adjusted one of the ways they kept the game moving at a constant speed with all these moving objects is to use interlacing to make it easier. Screen clearing bomb. I think we took it out. So I guess one of the tricks that the developers would use, like I think Konami even did this, is that they would make the projectiles cycle. So I don't know exactly how that works, but apparently it's like every other frame, the bullets would disappear. At least I think that's how it worked. So there's a lot of activity going on screen at any given time because there are 30. Like, there are, remember, 60 frames per second, right? 60 unique images per second. So if you cycle it with the interlacing effect, you have, you know, basically half of the screen is drawn at once, then the other half of the screen is drawn at once. So think of it as like a Venetian blinds, I guess. You have the blinds, then you have the space between the blinds. So the first thing you draw are the even fields. You draw the blinds, and then you draw the space between the blinds. I guess that's the best way to describe it. So you alternate how much of the screen is displayed at once. So if you interlace it, it means you're only showing half of the image at any given time. But if you alternate that, you know, 30 times a second, it looks like 60 images a second. So you're like alternating fields, I guess. You draw the even fields, then you draw the odd fields, and without getting too geeky about that. Apparently you're allowed to cheat a bit to get more activity on screen because you're only drawing half of the screen at once. So if you're really good at manipulating that, you can have a game that moves relatively smoothly without a whole lot of slowdown because you're only doing half as much work at any given time. And then you just alternate quickly between the two fields. So again, I forgot to warn you, this is going to be a geeky video because I'm mainly just talking about my setup, trying to explain how this will work in future videos. Because if this capture device works as well as it should, we'll be good. We've gone for about nearly 10 minutes. This will be a 10-minute video at some point. I think the limit is 15 minutes, but I'll double check that. This capture device does not capture at it does capture at 1080p, but it only does 30 frames a second at that resolution. But at 720p, it will capture at full 60 frames a second, so that's good. We'll continue to see where the waypoint is, then we'll end the video very shortly. This looks like the beginning to me. But I'll be honest, I played this game on an emulator a few years ago, and I remember really liking it. But we're going to play for realsies this time. And then I'll throw in some Bomberman at some point to see how that goes. By the way, I'm capturing in mono, which makes sense. The TurboGrafx, you know, stereo sound isn't a big deal for a console like this. We'll do a separate capture with stereo sound a bit later. And when I'm playing the Turbo CD games like Wanderers from Ys and Book Ys 1 and 2 and Dracula X, then yeah, sure, I'll break out the stereo sound eventually. You got to play that game in stereo. You got to play those games loud, you know what I'm saying? Gates of Thunder, I already did a video of Gates of Thunder on this channel, if you search for it. Heck, I got a whole playlist of TurboGrafx-16 Mini videos on this channel. And a separate, and a combined, and a general playlist of shoot-em-ups like this. So if you just want to see me, like, kind of wrestle with some shooters, I even got some full playthroughs. I did a full playthrough of Gradius 2 back in the day. I think I did Gradius 1 as well, and I believe I did Salamander. So I did a full playthrough of those games, so you'll be able to see me play those at 60 frames a second on this channel. I cheated. When I say I cheated, I basically, like, gave myself infinite continues and all that, so I'll do a real playthrough at some point in the future, but the idea was for me to kind of wrestle with those games, just kind of get comfortable with them. And then I'll play for realsies next time. I normally don't do full playthroughs on this channel, but when I do, it's mainly me kind of doing a content tour so that I can play for realsies later. Because some of those old games can be really frustrating and unfair and obtuse, so keep that in mind. Okay, let's do an audio check. We'll see how this video turned out. Like I said, this was a research stream. LRLSL. It was blazing lasers on a 60